Welcome to the Fischer-Z 50th anniversary audio series, where I've picked my favorite tracks over the years, and I'm going to share the story of those tracks and a lot more.
Thanks, John. And as a reminder, my name is Martin Bull, and I'll be hosting and helping John curate his way through all of his favourite tracks. And this episode features the track Big Beat Poetry from the album Big Beat Poetry back in 1999 and the Promenaders from the 2002 album Ether. Let's get into it.
I woke up gargling rusty nails. I was positively down. I was hanging onto a tiger's tail. I was positively down. I ran my tongue around my mouth. I thought a bit, weighed myself, and I felt like shit. Anesthetized on the booze a bit. I couldn't take the pressure of it. I woke up depressed. I got dressed. I'm obsessed. Such a tight mess. Hocus pocus, lose my focus. Running out of things I do on purpose. Sense of reason, sense of time. As well as making money, there is purpose to my poetry. Big beat poetry, it's big. Big beat poetry, it's big. In the name of the Father and the name of the Son, I was positively down. I was counting on my people to help me out. I was positively down. Talk to me, talk to me. Give me back some sympathy. La la la, loving helps me to shake off the memories. Riding the big wave, spiritual head case. 1,000 miles of smiles and celebration. Hokey appropriately smoking the air. Soaking up the energy, hope it gets to follow me deeper and deeper into my soul. Spiritual keeper, keep me from the reaper. Oh my God, oh my God. It can be drugs cause I feel so good. Fastest quick step in the West. Like all the things I love the best. It's big beat poetry, it's big. It's big beat poetry, it's big. It's a love department, it's the love department, it's the love. Counting on the people of the world to help us. Counting on the world, counting on the people of the world to help us. Counting on the people of the world. Why? So make ourselves with our own hands, with our own sounds for £1,000. Punk, funk, spunk, drunk, skunk, drunk, running on the spot.
Okay, John, let's move on to talking about Big Beat Poetry then from 1999. Quite a different sound and approach from the 13 Stories High album.
Yeah, well, I went out with 13 Stories High because Steve Kellner couldn't tour it, and Phil Spalding's overall, apart from being a genius, he also had all manner of health and drug problems, and so I ended up touring. I toured 13 Stories High solo, supporting this big German band, Fear in the Slaughterhouse. Through that, I met a whole lot of people, including the manager, Bear, who still manages the Fantastic of Fear, really, really big German manager. And he'd been a fan of Fischer-Z. They were huge fans of 13 Stories High, all of them. They just thought, Jesus, that's a great record. So I went out and did with them. All sorts of weird things happened on that. I'd never had any trouble with my voice, ever. And the singer of the band we were supporting had lots of trouble with his voice. I gave him lots of advice with his voice, but I didn't take it myself. And again, in that period, for whatever reason, I didn't get an infection as such, but I lost some of the falsetto stuff and everything. Don't know why, in that period of time. And anyway, that's what I was doing. So But from the contacts I made, I met DJ Ingo Wörner, who's still my big mate. Ingo is an absolute genius. He was turntablist champion. He's good at everything. He was European freestyle. He was a skateboard champion, a skier, and everything. Ingo's extremely manic, highly strung person, and his job when I decided to be managed by Bear, and I had these songs which were coming up for Big Beat Poetry, and Bear needed an intermediary between me and him, because he, to talk about the music and everything else. And so he put Ingo in, who'd been his previous business partner and all sorts of stuff. Ingo's brief was to help me get the songs together and find the right people to work with, and because a DJ. But then in the end, we started to do demos for it. And so instead of finding the people to work with, he was the person to work with. Because he was a DJ, the approach was totally different, which I found very exciting, having done drums. He was a massive hip hop expert. And so I always saw hip hop as being very connected to reggae and urban folk. I was very interested in hip hop, much more interested than in other genres. And it's been the most influential genre over 45 years of anything. I mean, now everything's gone as far as the jazziness of people like Drake, right down to the poets over hip hop stuff and everything else. Unbelievable. But so I started to work with Ingo. We were sort of working on stuff in a freezing Stuttgart through 98, 99. In the end, we ended up making stuff in our house in Brighton. And I did also Phil Evans, who I actually only saw 2 days ago. Genius, Phil Evans from Yorkshire, who lives in Belgium. And he, for instance, Phil built studios for, I'm getting to the Big Beat Poetry thing. Phil built studios for Too Many DJs and Soul Wax and all those people in Belgium. He's built the studios and engineered. He now does different things, but he was superb. And he worked with Ingo. The thing about Ingo was Ingo had never made a record. He was a DJ. So his way of making music was totally original. In the same way as, I can't remember his name now, but the producer who did the first, what were New Order called before they were New Order?
Joy Division. He recorded that album, the producer, like Bits on the Roof and The Wrong Way Around, because he was an artist. He wasn't the thing. So you end up with a really original sound. Yeah. Ingo was the same. See, we were combining a songy stuff with his hip hoppy stuff, which made for something quite extraordinary. And so what I did was I then got into Crucial Groove. So we were taking a song, deconstructing it, then finding a groove from beats and working it that way. And that's what we did. And therefore, obviously, if you do that, you use far less chords and everything, because it doesn't go, if you ruin your groove if you start mucking about with bridges and bits and pieces like that. And that created a precedent for a lot of the more minimal stuff I've done since, really, which because the idea of having just this simple groove and a very limited number of chords, then you can make it dance. But yeah, and so again, the songs from that album were very strong, but as for a form thing, just for form, I mean, I can play Big Beat Poetry solo, because you have to get the rhythm by, having been a drummer, it's useful, because you have to get the same vibe as you would do from a bass and drums hip hop thing.
Please don't make noises during it, because I get very upset, because it's a deep and meaningful song, right? I woke up gargling rusty nails. I was positively down. I was hanging on to a tiger's tail. I was positively down. I ran my tongue around my mouth. I thought a bit. I weighed myself and I felt like shit. Anesthetized on the booze a bit. I couldn't take the pressure of it. I woke up depressed. I got dressed. I'm obsessed. It's such a tight mess. Hocus pocus, lose my focus. Running out of things to do on purpose. Sense of reason, sense of time. As well as making money, there is purpose to my poetry. Big beat poetry is big. Big beat poetry is big. I haven't heard you singing along yet. The Father and the name of the Son, I was positively down. I was counting on my people to help me out. I was positively down. Talk to me, give me back some sympathy. La la la, loving helps me to bring back the memories. Riding the big wave, spiritual head case, 1,000 miles of smiles and celebration. Okie appropriately smoking the air, soaking up the energy. Hope it gets a part of me deeper and deeper into my soul. Spiritual keeper, keep me from the reaper. Oh my God, it can be drugs cause I feel so good. Fastest quick step in the West. Like all the things I love the best. It's big beat poetry. It's big beat poetry. It's big. It's the love department. It's the love department. It's the love department.
I mean, Phil Evans and him, I remember them when they were using the basis of the drums. They had an echo machine. So instead of it going boom, clank, boom, it was boom, 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 clank, 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 clank. It was just a genius idea. And I'd already been singing it. And Big Beat Poetry, to give you an idea where the actual song comes from, I was watching a television program for about 2 hours. And it was a mixture of what I was thinking and one of the characters in the film. And I wrote probably 1,000 words at least. And then I went back through the 1,000 words and took the choice lines. And that's what it's about. I woke up garlic and rusty nails. I was positively down. I mean, lyrically, that's up there. And that doesn't date at all. People love that record as well. It's really weird that these records from that period, certainly 13 Stories High and the Big Beat Poetry record, are considered to be great, long lost records. Also, I mean, with Big Beat Poetry, I still play Big Beat Poetry. I can play live-wise. We can play Positive Voodoo. There's lots of other songs. I love singing. Don't do it with this band particularly, but Karma Sandra is great fun to play. So, but we didn't bring out the strongest song qualities in those. We brought out the biggest groove qualities because it was out big. We called it Big Beat Poetry because there was all the Brighton big beat music scene was going on at that time, Skint and everything like that. So when you had it was really funny. What was he called? Can't remember. But there was a track that was doom 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 that bass line. So we nicked that bass line because they'd nicked it from lots of other people. And it was quite funny. There was a bit of resentment from the Brighton hip hop lot. They said, "You nicked our bass line." I said, "Yeah, but you nicked it from that." Also, even at that stage, so how old was I then? I was then sort of 42, 43. I mean, people, and it's always been the thing for me, you make the music, which is very credibly different, but people can't understand where it's coming from. Do you know what I mean? They think, you see, if you've ever been successful in one era, they do tie you to that era. They think, well, this doesn't sound like an early 80s new wave band at all. And the thing I was always told, I told you many times, Peter Jenner said to me, who's a great manager, from Ian Dury to Pink Floyd to everybody else, he just said, Watson, you're a solo act. That's your problem. He said, you should always have been signed as a solo act. Then all the things you wanted to do would just be seen as a natural progression in the same way as a Bowie career would be, not reinventing so much, but sort of reorganizing and working with lots of different people in different styles. Because if people like Bowie, if you get big enough, they think, oh, great, that's got that variation. If you're not as big, they think, can't make up your mind. It's just a question of, it's like art, for instance. I mean, with the gallery stuff we're starting to do, I've got an agent now, an art agent, who's saying, look, your drawings, your paintings should be this value. And I was talking with Eric about that, with Eric, my son and manager. And he said, well, they can't be worth that. I said, if you believe in something and it comes out in art, I mean, people have nailed a banana to a page and charged £2 million for it. It's about belief,
What was interesting about this one is that it came out as under two names. So Spiritual Headcase was one of the versions, and obviously Big Beat Poetry as well. What was your thinking there?
Well, the thinking, I don't know, really. I mean, I think the thinking was, we did the album with Motor, which was Big Beat Poetry, beautifully done. The agreement was limited number of vinyls, limited number of CDs. And they spent a fortune on it. It was really classy. And I thought, then they said to me, it was difficult to get it signed because I was Fischer-Z bloke. And they didn't want to use the Fischer-Z, and they didn't like my voice very much originally. But Ingo, convinced them to do it, and then they loved it. So it's that terrible thing that you take people years to get into it, then they get into it, then they love it, then you leave them. And that's what I did. They were livid because they were offering us a fortune to make another one. I said, well, why? You didn't sell that many. They said, no, that wasn't the point. You made a great record. We made a limited number. We wanted to show that you weren't Fischer-Z anymore. This is very special. We had a biggest following, the biggest mailing list ever, much bigger than the Fischer-Z mailing list that we had for that record. And they said, we've done it. We've put you where you want to be. And we want you to make another one. But at that point, Ingo personally and I were falling out. The manager and I were falling out. And so I extricated myself from the Motor deal. No other act in history, and Motor were the most impressive independent label in Europe, beyond Britain anyway, in continental Europe. Everybody would die to get on that label. So I, of course, left it.
There's a in your career alone, isn't it? That is your career.
Personally, there was a lot of stuff going on. It was quite difficult. And at that stage, I mean, when I first worked with Bear, as a manager, it was new for me to be based out of Germany. I kind of felt, it's a weird thing to say, but it just felt like it didn't feel as credible to me as having English represent, when in actual fact there was very big league representation. And probably since the beginning, I mean, you had EMIs and all those different people, majors, but Motor were the coolest label in Europe at that time, the place to be. And they knew what they wanted, and they got it, and we delivered. Because also Big Beat Poetry, they said, this record's great, but we need a leader track, a single. I think and Big Beat Poetry that way was one of the last ones to do. And so they said they wanted that. They came back to Ingo and said, look, we need that. So I wrote it.
Because on Spiritual Head Case, there is no reference of who you are. Not Fischer-Z, not Watts, not John Watts, nothing.
That's right. No, it wasn't deliberately. Because it was remixed with a guy called Peely. Peely was a mate of mine for years. He's a very, very innovative, wonderful engineer. But I don't know. I mean, he might see the podcast. He'll always be mortally offended. I would say that he was difficult to work with because he was a great bloke to work with, but he was very, very moody. And many of the people he's worked with are big names. He, for instance, what the fuck that band called? Bush. He did their best demos and all their stuff that got them all their deals. And he did some recordings with them as well, which he was never really credited for. Do you know what I mean? He is the classic. I mean, it's sad to say. I mean, he's roughly my age, and I know he had all sorts of problems. I've not been in touch with him for must be like 7 or 8, 10 years maybe. The reason getting back to, so Spiritual Head Case was a different form of the mix. And I think a good job that he actually did, I have to say. I don't like it more than the original, but it's different. What that is basically is a remix album.
Is there anything else on there that would have come close to making your favourites list?
Yeah. I mean, Big Beat Poetry was I always felt, because, Positive Voodoo was written about a friend of mine who had cancer. Positive Voodoo is good. I do that and I still sing it live. I'm trying to think. Can you give us the list on there?
Yeah, Walking the Doberman.
That's just loads of fun. The original version you've never heard. It's extraordinary. I made in Bath in Peter Gabriel's studio with Alex Gifford, who was in the Propeller Heads. I don't know if
yes.
That mix is just out of this world. When you remake something, it's never as good, but it's good, Walking the Doberman. Yes, that's its class.
You've got Good Rain. Good
Rain was about going to New York. I love that song, trying to remember the bloody thing. There's so many words. I was singing that somewhere recently, and the idea of, I don't know if have you seen the statue of Lenin in New York?
No.
It's a contradiction. He's up there on the top. So I started with, I saw Lenin standing on the clock. Vladimir Ilyich Ulyanov. Look at my visa. Which at that stage, I looked like him. It's a wonder that the US let me in. That's a poetry, really. And I love that song. Yep, Good Brain's up there. Really good song.
Karma Sandra we talked about.
Oh, that's fun. And that's a true story about Chelsea.
The football team?
No.
Are You Real?
Oh, I quite like, the songs are great, but they're not really recorded as songs. They're recorded as things. Are
It's
you?
almost like spoken word to music, isn't
Yeah,
it?
there's nothing wrong with the songs. The songs are really strong, and the form's unusual. That again, you see, I don't think that's dated. I don't think
And
it's dated either.
well, it sounds so different from almost everything you'd done before that.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, and constructed in a different way. And we got great response from real black hip hop people everywhere. They thought it was great. In the same way as, reggae artists normally spit at English, white reggae is disgusting. Like Fischer-Z were good. We didn't play white reggae, like the Police didn't play white reggae. We had our own take on it. You combine Ingo's DJing hip hop skills with my songwriting, and then I mean we did shows that were just fantastic. Loads of people. So he was spinning from discs before feedback busters came in. So things would feed back and whoop. And if a disc jumps, it doesn't jump 4 beats or 4 bars. I thought, what the hell's going on there? I was playing with a screaming acoustic in front of that. There's nobody in that form. It was quite hectic, and Ingo had his problems personality-wise, and I was just trying to hang on to it. And yeah, but it was great. I mean, Ingo played at Oberhausen, and so that was, he came and spun at Oberhausen. He is now the director of creative agencies of all sorts. I mean, if somebody will say, I don't know, he'll invent anything. He can do anything. He can invent a machine. I imagine that his interaction with AI will be very interesting because he could, basically people would come up with a problem, anything from an architectural problem to an electrical problem, and he'll find a solution. He's a genius. Like all geniuses, quite difficult to be with.
I'm not a radio.
Oh, I don't remember much about that, but it's quite funny.
Remembering to breathe.
Yeah, everybody seems to like that. Wind blows through 1,000 Hutu hairdos. Yeah. The idea of yeah, I mean I remember seeing the trees on the side of the motorway looked like the Hutu tribesmen's hairdos. I remember that. Very strong that.
Last three. Change to man.
Can't remember what that was at all.
No. Movies and end.
Movies is really interesting. Movies was about Sol Bello. He was the man from wherever he came from. I can't remember now. But End's a classic. End's very, very important song. It's been remixed and stuff like that. I'm really pleased with that. And I sing that sometimes. So End is one of the strongest three. Because that's completely, I mean, that's a real oddity. I did that as an afterthought, but I'm really pleased with that.
Ingo Wörner now joins us on this episode and tells us a little bit more about the album Big Beat Poetry, working with John, and how that album came about. Thanks for joining us, Ingo. Can you start for me then, Ingo, by telling me a little bit about sort of where you met him, where you met John initially? What were you doing beforehand?
Okay, very quickly. I have whatever this vinyl background in a way. Yeah, starting very very young. My first from my grandfather, he gave me some Deutschmarks. I went into the record store and bought Rainbow on Stage. I don't know, being 11 years old or something. The girl who sold the records asked her, "Does your mother know that I'm here?" Stuff like that. So I started very early. One day I came home from school and a friend was standing before a shop who tried to open next day. Yeah, it was a combination of a record shop for DJs. They just later I learned they just sold 12 inches and imported records from all over the world, together with a boutique. Blah, blah, blah. And they had whatever the regular situation. Oh my God, chaos! We have to open more. If I want to help painting, they say yeah. And I didn't leave that thing. So in a way, I ended up after the school selling records, blah, 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 having contact with all these DJs. So next thing, I bought 2 turntables and a mixer, which was very early. It was like we knew from the video Malcolm McLaren that you can turn records forward and backward stuff. And then all these DJs, there was Sultan Bender. He was one of the first in Europe mixing in a proper way in this style of Studio 54. Yeah, not cutting or scratching records, making this beautiful long new context by mixing things together. So I was all into it. I didn't have the idea of being a DJ, but I started at home making tapes, and the older one heard it and said, "Hey, you have to go to the OS." So I started, I don't know, being 14, playing in the OS. There was Sundays for the youth, a party with 1,200 people in front of of the club at 12 o'clock midday on Sunday. So all these chiefs came and say how to mix. So I didn't end that. That was my story of being whatever. Producer, I never produced. I cut it reel-to-reel remixes for the club and stuff like that, but not really producing. And I had a horrible thing in school with music. These days they teach it in a way I just blocked, and music is shot. All these notes and stuff, I was just confused. I thought, not for me. And I was really looking up to these guys who could play guitar. You see, Rainbow, Richie Blackmore, blah, blah, blah. So they were okay up there. And of course, there was Fischer-Z from the beginning. Yeah, all the elder ones heard it and stuff like that. So of course. And I would not say fan, because I think I never was a fan of something. There's very good music and not so good in a way. And I have totally respect for art when the music comes together and stuff. Totally respect. But fan, I don't know. It was not so my thing. So fast forward, I never went out of clubs and stuff. I played, blah, blah. This reduced a bit, and I went full on into programming, the internet and stuff like that. I was there. And one day I did get a call from Andreas Berlesker, the manager of the Fantastische Vier. And he said a bit with a shaking voice, a bit like, Ingo, you won't believe who's here. It's John Watts. Come over here immediately. I said, okay, great. Hang up and drove from Esslingen to Stuttgart, where I was sitting in his office. And when I joined the office, it was a bit, cold in a way. Later on, I learned and Bear was a huge fan of John, a really huge fan. So they couldn't go on in a way. John finished 13 Stories High and had the idea of, hey, there is this successful manager, Bear, with the Fantastische Vier, and I want to connect to the youth. Let's see what he would say. So I came in. I think Bear meant me a bit like a translator or whatever, or a middleman or something like that. Anyway, it was a cold situation. I said to John, let's go to the pub. He said, okay, let's go to the pub. Sitting in my car, I always had loops on tape on my own. Yeah, from beautiful other things which I looped together. He already started singing, and it was a short drive, second track, second song on top of it. After that meeting in the pub, that was it. We both make a record, and I think 3 days later we came up with Big Beat Poetry and stuff like. So that was like, and also meeting John was, meeting a brother. It just clicked, and we were so sure. Okay, that's what we do. I described it like Serge Gainsbourg with the beats. So having this poet with a very groovy thing, and that was the idea to do. So yeah, that was when I met John Watts.
Wow. So did you have this? Did he have the songs already ready for the album, or was it a collaborative effort for you and him?
Oh, so when I look at it now, very interesting thing. Like John always, he has a finished record in his pocket, at minimum one, if not two, or whatever. I think 80% of the songs have already been written, and the ones being written when we're together was Big Beat Poetry in the end, and both of them, I think, I might tell the stories, have a beautiful story how they started. We also decided, hey, let's make Big Beat Poetry. It was a bit of a shock for the management because they thought, I'm a middleman or something. Now he's on stage, or whatever. We didn't give and started over and Bear and made Bear the management. And he was, tickling around with the rights to sell for 1.5 years. And I met John all the time. He flew over to Stuttgart and we recorded stuff, and we already had gigs and whatever, produced videos, and we've been working, but no record deal was coming up. All the time, the first idea was, let's release it on MP3, because me programming, I was part of the first online MP3 shop. It was called DJ24. That they said, no, we don't look at these major thingies. You have to sell 1 million for the amount of money I'm getting if we sell 10,000 straight to a fan. Yeah, $20 straight in our pockets. You can't. How to get that with a single sell via major network? But it was too early. So anyway, they were looking for the classic record deals, and Bear being very known in Germany was on these Germany thingies, and nobody could see it. They all afraid. Oh, that's rock, blah, blah, blah. What do you mean with beats and blah, blah. I always said we have to meet Motor. We have to meet Petra Husemann. She had already releases going in that direction, and she was so successful with Rammstein and stuff like that. And also Tim Renner, the chief of Motor and husband of Husemann, they were big friends and stuff that say, so no, that has to be the direction. But for any reason, maybe other bands should go first to Motor in Berceau or whatever, that was the thing. But after 1.5 years, they couldn't resist. And I did get a date with Husemann at home because they were so busy. We were invited to meet them at home. Tim Renner was sitting there writing stuff in his laptop. Later on, we learned that was his taking over Universal Germany, because he was chief of Motor. And that night, I sold watts to Husemann. He was selling himself to Universal, which happened, and Husemann did get the chief. I've been sitting there with recording videos of our concerts and stuff like that, and at the end she said, "Okay, wow, that's really looking interesting. Give me some time." We left. We drove there by car in Hamburg, and I think, I don't know, in Hanover, whatever, we had the next day a meeting. So I was driving with Bear in the car to that meeting, and we started at 8 o'clock. And I could not handle waiting anymore for any answers of these things. I mean, imagine 1.5 years not knowing, and then another 3 months of for an answer. I could not. Anyway, and I said to Bear, come on, call Fleurop. I don't know if you know, that's a flower service. You call them and say, go to this address and bring some roses, blah, blah. So I ordered roses every hour to Husemann. It started 9 o'clock, I don't know, 11:30. The phone was clinging in Bear's car. I said, stop sending me roses, you have a record deal. Okay, great. And Husemann said, but there's a title track missing. I said, okay, hang on a minute. I hang up, called John. I said, hey, you have a record deal, but there's the title track. What shall that be? I said, John, Big Beat Poetry, isn't it? Yeah, okay, understood. Another 20 minutes later, he called back. I said, wait. Bear took a recording machine. You had these dictation machines these days. Yeah. Recorded it via the phone. I said, thank you. Called up Husemann and said, here's your title track. Played it and said, okay, 100%, you have the record deal. So this was the writing of Big Beat Poetry. 20 minutes out of a car, sold it. So.
And how did that track come about then? How did it evolve into a fully formed song?
Another great thing. Phil Evans was a big part in producing and helping me to learn producing. You see, I never produced a record, and I ended up making, I don't know, 90% of the whole record, engineering, recording, mixing, blah, blah, blah. And he helped me quite a lot. Phil Evans, a huge friend now. And we were looking for beats, and a day before, at the market, he sold he bought a used drum pad from Roland. And in a way, a drumstick fell down the table onto a pad and made da-da-da-da-da. I said, all right, that's the beat. And from that on, just adding more beats and beats. I don't know, it's about 8 drum loops being used in that track. John came up then with this beautiful piano playing on top of it. Anyway, his guitar play, the basic guitar was great and all this, and it went like this all the time with the track. Went fast, and we all been, I don't know, when art gets bigger than yourself, I think that's Big Beat Poetry in a way. We all looked at it and said, what a beauty. And lyrics and stuff, that is the story of the album in that track, how John felt, the confusion. Everybody's getting sick all the time. I don't know. It was 2.5 years were very strange. Yeah. And me living there, I lived in the conservatory with them for 1.5 years with the whole family. It was a situation like the Watsons, where you say, good night, Lucy, good night, Jim. Yeah. So being so close to that family, the kind of Big Beat Poetry is the one.
Because the record has a very different sound to anything he'd produced either before or since, to be fair. So I just wondered how that that overall sound? Was that a conscious decision between you and him, or was that something that you brought into the mix?
I think that was my part, but it's I don't know. There's still agreement if things are fitting in a way. Well, now it comes together. Now it makes all sense. It's not just added beats to it. It's quite. I mean that it took one really hard work for 1.5 years to get it all together. Yeah, we had mixes before. The record company didn't want. It was a bit like. The first thing I felt was Walking the Doberman. He recorded with Alex from Propellerheads. An unbelievable, brutal track. Wow, killer. But it was against, in a way. It was these beats against the singer, because everything has to be cool and no singing. We just need instrumental, this kind of thing. So to get it really to glue together, so it's not in the way, it's supporting these lyrics, took 1.5 years. But yeah, I learned how to do it in a way. Yeah, now that's the formula. I understood it. So it worked step by step by step by step.
So this was your first sort of production engineering and mixing?
Everything, yeah. Right. I've learned with John. But again, that was, I don't know how to describe. In Germany, the art of music making is the art of music making, and nobody tells you. Yeah, they make it hidden, the tricks, they don't show you, blah, blah, blah. When we had the record, we said, no, we're not producing in Germany. I come over to England. And in England, it's the biggest industry you have, I think, pop industry still. So it's of course an art, but everybody tells you how they achieve it. It's an open thing, like simple things like you paint the wall in white. Yeah. To me, it was like, everybody told, the German, and everybody told me. And now imagine the connections John has. I mean, being in Rich World, being the chief engineer from Turbo Sound, and I don't know, it doesn't stop meeting everybody, and everybody was open to the idea that the Fatboy Slingies and these bunch of people, unbelievable. So yeah, I learned to do these things, and being able, to finish it at the end.
I was going to, funny you mentioned Walking the Doberman, but I was also going to talk about Positive Voodoo. I don't know if you remember that, because that's another song on the album that sort of stands out amongst all the tracks.
That was the original idea. It's based on Armin Pongs. You might have heard the name. He's also the author of the Fischer-Z book, and he just finished the Punkt tour with John. And he was sick, having cancer, and being able to heal himself. That inspired John to write the song Positive Voodoo. Be careful what you think, you might change the world. With this spirit, we started making the album. Yeah, there was not the track Big Beat Poetry, but the inner thing of the concept, if you want so, was the idea of Armin Pongs healing himself, being positive voodoo. And that's the only track where somebody else made the beats. I should remember the name. Making beats for Fatboy Slims. His name was Jim. Can it be Jim? I anyway have just a surname. I think it was Jim. And he made in '98 lots of beats for all the Skin Records guys and stuff like that. He made Positive Voodoo, the beats.
Oh, right. Okay, brilliant.
And all the other stuff, the instruments played, except the cello and Are You Real, is all John. Everything is John.
Okay. I was going to ask about that as well. So about what was it a single solo effort, or was it more? Was it other people that played on it? From your perspective, were you doing anything from an instrument point of view on there?
Yeah, well, not. I mean, that's difficult. You sit there with John Watts. You're not stupid. Start trying to play. Like, I mean, you have John Watts there. You see,
I can imagine. Yeah.
I sample the things I need. Yeah, on the highest quality I can imagine. And I did, as I'm not an engineer, that's not an EQ'd record. It's a mixed record. What you learn today, I don't know, if you have this kick drum separated, you have to use sidechain ones. No. I use these out of phase things even to cancel frequencies from another. You see, if you take 8 drum loops in stereos, with a mix, you have an EQ in a way. So that's what I did, what I really could do, and different like other people. Therefore, there's so many drums sound so compact because these phase thingies. So, and the rest was okay. Now we need some lively stuff. Okay, of course you can program a bass line, but when John playing the bass, okay, that's fitting. In a way, that was the clue, from the poetry to the beats, these humanistic instruments. And of course, John, beautiful keyboard player, beautiful bass player, and we know anyhow what he can do with it. I mean, that's the classic stuff, how he plays it, thumbs about the E string. That's the real classic thingy. So I was not stupid and trying to.
Right.
I had to learn different things, so I was happy John was there.
So when you were touring with him afterwards, were you just doing Big Beat Poetry, or were you doing other Fischer-Z songs or John Watt songs as well?
We most of the time we started him being solo, playing 2 or 3 tracks on his own, and of course these been tracks from Fischer-Z or whatever John Watt said, whatever he named it at this stage. But then the set with the 2 turntables and him. When we were close to cutting the album in Metropolis with Miles, and we thought, okay, the album is too short now, by deciding which tracks are on there and how long, blah, blah, blah. You count them together and say, oh, not long enough. Say, okay, John, we need another song. What shall it be? I said, well, the end. We're leaving. Next day he came, Ingo, last night I wrote this. I said, wow, beautiful. And I say, okay, and I know I'm not going to produce a whole track now. It's like that. The DJ leaves. So when the DJ leaves, the vinyl's over. And at the end of the vinyl, you have clack, 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 clack. And that shall be the beat. It is. If you hear very closely to the end, that's my part of the beat. Just letting the vinyl run. Clack, 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 clack. Singing on top of it. Beautiful thing. The end also. As I said, Big Beat Poetry and the end, these are 2 songs which happened while we are producing. And it have some special character to it. In Belgium, Hoogelde, I think it's called, a festival, which we played the end for the last time. It's also a very funny story. Because Phil was making the sound, and when we played the end, feels like the end of the world, he talked to me, to my monitor system, Ingo, look up. And I looked up, and it was the darkest sky you can imagine. And 10 minutes later, the whole festival was underwater, 1 meter high. It was really chaos. So we played, the last thing we did was play the end. Also, we never played together regularly then. It was the last gig we had, the end, and the world came down. Unbelievable.
Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the century to me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century to me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like we're all falling off. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like we've been round the clock. Feels like the end of the century to me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century to me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the century to me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century to me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like we're all falling off. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like I've been round the clock. Feels like the end of the century. To me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. To me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the century. To me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like we're all falling off. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like we've been round the clock. Feels like the end of the century. To me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the century. To me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like we're all falling off. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like we've been round the clock. Feels like the end of the century. To me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like the end of the world. Feels like the end of the century. To me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like we're all falling off. Feels like the end of the world to me. Feels like we've been round the clock. Feels like the end of the century. To me, to me, to me, to me, to me. Feels like the end of the century. Feels like the end of the. Feels like the end of the. Feels like the end. Feels like the end. Feels like the end. Feels like the end.
Next year is the 50th anniversary of Fischer-Z. What would you say is the reason for their longevity? What's the, how come, he's lasted and they've lasted for so long?
It's real. I think that if you, I don't know, all these, if you ask me my 10 favorite records or whatever, when I look at them, they are all real. They're made they're made sheer art in a way, not concepts or stuff like that. And of course, Red Skies Over Paradise. Oh my God. Battalions of Strangers, Cruise Missile, Luton to Lisbon. I don't know how it's, that's art. Maybe again, yeah, when art becomes bigger than yourself, it's timeless. It's just poof. It was such a timestamp. Everybody I knew in Germany had that record. So a whole generation is born up with that feeling in a way. He was so spot on these days. But timeless. And you can hear the record today. Nothing sounds like, okay, ugly 80s snare drum. No, just, wow, it just went on. And I don't know, is he one of the last living songwriters on earth? It's unbelievable, his skills. As we talked already, I mean, he's doing that daily. He can write an album in a day if you want to. It's such a brain, and yeah, so lots of talent meets beautiful, exciting times. I don't know, being the first in Berlin. Yeah, when you were there, these 80s, John was, I don't know, bored already from Berlin when the other blokes came in and stuff. So yeah, he followed these very early things all the time, and he was so right with it.
Okay. All right, brilliant. Well, look, I'm conscious of time. Thank you so much for your time. It's been a joy.
Thank you.
Okay. So we then move on to 2002. So 3-year gap now between the.
Well, that was a complete, the whole marriage thing changed everything, did this, that, and the other. I ended up by the end of, 2001. By the end of 2001, I was living with a French filmmaker woman. And we did something absolutely remarkable for Ether. There was an album called One Giant Leap, which had £200,000 spent on making it. Ireland put that money in, and they were going around the world sampling different things and recording and making albums. We were doing it at the same time with no budget whatsoever. Things like having a laptop, trying to keep it dry on the streets, recording rappers in New York. Sarah's genius was, she's now a gallerist more than anything else, but she was making films and she was taking pictures. And that was a working creative process, an art and music creative process that I started to develop with Sarah. And we were a couple, and we were amazing creative force. We tried to take on much too much in business terms. With two of us were doing everything, including running all the business. For instance, we booked a bigger art in concert program. We persuaded big venues right across Europe to do it in the middle of the winter. I was running around. I overdid it completely, and I actually collapsed in Berlin. Completely collapsed. So we couldn't do the art in concerts because it was freezing cold, and I got double pneumonia. But wow, what a time! And also that was my complete art education, because I didn't go to art college, but working with Sarah, who is now, she was my girlfriend on and off for 15 years. She loves me to bits, and I love her. We're still in contact. And as I say, yeah, but her contribution was amazing. And so then the Ether was the product of traveling around all over the beds. And had there not been a giant, people said, oh, so you tried to copy the giant? I said, no, not at all. We just hit on that idea. Also, if social media would have existed then, what we were doing was a gold mine. For what, if we'd have been doing it 10 years later, it would have been, we were just too early with that. And there's lots of great stuff on that.
Well, you've chosen Promenaders from the album.
Boat on glass mast, halfway split between mirror sea and angry skyline chugging past. She turns a bit away from me to stark horizons. Back she comes, I watch and wonder what's the thought behind the tiller, till I see the sail unfurl with ocean breath, red canvas filler. Out to sea she bobs and falters under wind pad, smooth trajectory over waves to deeper waters. Rope flap, wave lap, landscape poetry. She's smaller now, but still divided, where the sea and sky infuse to and fro the promenade. sunset comes and vision goes.
What stood out for you on that one?
Well, it's just with Promenaders, my memory for that is it was quite a fraught process. Once having collected it all and mixed it, for instance, we did, again, Graham Bonnet mixed it for us.
He did.
I recorded it on the road, so he mixed it for us and did the final vocals. I mean, that is so tied up with things like 9/11 and everything else. It's all at that time. I can remember mixing, I can't remember which one, one of the ones from that. Yeah, one of the ones from that album then. I can remember things like being in Barcelona and recording saxophones, in Barcelona. I mean, we just traveled and recorded. It was a fantastic thing to do in the days when hard drives were 2 gig. And so you had to record everything you did. You had to save to disk that night. It would take 2 hours to save to disk because you couldn't record anything else. It was amazing Sarah operated the computer. It's amazing what we did. I'm very, very proud of it. Recording like cellos on a beach at night in Nice. Going to Norway where we knew no one. The deal was we had to go to a place, find them, And so, yeah. But I mean, that was the number of projects with Sarah, but Ether was, let's see, the actual to listen to. I mean, if you give me the Ether list, I can tell you about it. For instance, with the title track, when Sarah first moved in with me, about a year after the marriage split up, and she came over, I had all those songs. I had things like Ether played on acoustic. And I think because my ethos was we must add things from people we travel and see, doing that was really interesting from my point of view, and you get quite an interesting result. But in the end, because you got contributions from different people, it's not the strongest way the songs could be put it that way. It could be a much more, I mean, if you give us the list, I can tell you, for instance, some of the things played solo, I can't remember what's on it now.
I'll tell you. So it's Ether,
yeah,
obviously, Jukebox.
Yeah. Well, Jukebox was done with Felix Gauder in Germany. So what we wanted to do with that was he was quite a famous German pop producer who I knew through the Stuttgart connection. That a lot of people really like that. I think he's brilliant, but I can't relate to the sound of the track at all in the end, not now.
Okay. Famous.
What the hell's that about? Can't remember.
Promenaders we talked about.
Yeah,
Eclipse.
Can't remember what that was at all.
Over.
Ah,
great song.
That is the cleverest song I've ever
Very
written.
clever song, yeah.
Well, you know what it is, don't you? There's a whole of the 20th century.
The history, yeah.
I think it's clever, but it's smart ass stuff. Probably be much derided, but it's a clever song.
First of all, it was Victoria, happy and glorious. She saw the 20th century in for us. Had no idea how severe the changes would be in the next 20 years. South Africa started with bitterness. Europe's young men were cut down for big business. Newsreels, cars, aeroplanes, real revolutions. Yes sir and no sir with old institutions. Over my shoulder, wave goodbye. Next there was prohibition and the depression. A national radio, gangsters and fear, the jazz era, black and white movies, failed Wall Street careers. The 30s kicked off with dictatorships, Hitler and Stalin, the special relationships. World War II came to a nuclear conclusion, and the women came back disillusioned. Over my shoulder, wave goodbye. First in line there was Elizabeth, Queen in the making, came in with Korea and Cold War in Berlin, Israel and Hungary, NATO security, rock and roll children. The 60s ignited with Dylan, the Beatles, the space race and civil rights killing, 68 riots and Vietnam shame, flower power promised but flower power failed. Over my shoulder, wave goodbye. Over my shoulder, wave goodbye. In the end there was Diana, a princess designer, fell foul of the system and died by a chauffeur. AIDS and ecology, mines and pollution, fights against drugs and a third world illusion. Shah out of Iran, more trouble in Ireland. Small wars with a good cause from Gulf to the Falklands. Watergate, Chernobyl, Afghanistan. End of a century, end of a symphony. Over my shoulder, wave goodbye. Over my shoulder, wave goodbye. Over my shoulder,
One song that was on Beep Start but not on Ether. I'll come on to that in a minute. Delight.
Oh yeah,
which is a great pop song.
Well, what I wanted to do was we wanted to add. I wanted to add Delight to give it a chance of being a single in England. So yeah, I still like that actually. I'm looking for Delight. Yeah.
But once again, not many of these tracks seem to make your live set. Is there a reason for that, do you think?
Well, they make my live solo set. Some of them.
Yeah.
I can play, for instance, Ether's Demon solo. I mean, and we were talking about songs from the previous one, wasn't it? Like End's a great solo.
Yeah,
song.
End, yeah.
Yeah. I always felt that, exactly what I said to you. The stuff on Ether is not in its strongest commercial form. It was a slave to the fact that we would use what we got. And so as an artistic enterprise, I think it was very brave. But again, rather too far ahead of its time. I know everybody will tell you that about their work.
That's okay.
I think it's genuinely true about Ether. I mean, Ether in a social media world. I mean, everybody can do that now if they want to.
Yeah, they can, yeah. And you wouldn't look to play Delight again?
I haven't even thought.
Or would you? Yeah,
I would. But you need the right band. Given the fact I never ever rehearse and the band's never in one place, that's the difficulty. Now at the moment, do you realize we've now got we've got three of the band are now English. So Ollie lives in Brighton, Ollie Newton. He's a great find. He was I wanted, because I worked with Sam Walker, but he's much too busy. And what I wanted was somebody who's got the same sort of way of operating. And Ollie's a great drummer, but he's also makes his own albums. He's a singer. He's very song orientated. So that's just recent, which is great. So Dave, who's been with me for years, although Dave lives in Spain, it means he comes over to see his mum sometimes. And when I say lives in Spain, he's not like an expat. He speaks Spanish, and he's all intents and purposes Spanish life. But he comes over to see his mum, so it means we can actually noodle around together if we want to. And that's different from me. Yeah. Delight. Yeah. I mean, I'd have to learn it first.
Oh, it'll be like muscle memory, John.
No, not at all. The idea that's funny, I don't have an auto cue that moves. I just have a sheet that's like a song sheet because genuinely, I can usually remember the guitar chords. I mean, I always take the mick out of musicians because to be a guitarist is really easy. If all you got to do is play a guitar, I mean, how easy is that? Singing wise, then you've got to be in better nick because your energy, your whole reflection of yourself is in the way you sing. And if you're trying to sing and play at the same time, when I'm on a stage, for instance, people are listening to their stage sound, I can't listen to the guitar. It's got to play itself. And also, with one thing, that a technical point for people as a producer, if a singer sings a song on a beat, it's boring. It's where they move around it. So what I have to do, for instance, where I am relative to the drums, I play a guitar that's quite groovy, so it's slightly off the back of the beat, yeah? But the singing has to lead the whole thing. So you have to have separation somehow in your brain between the two. And therefore, if you're doing that and trying to remember the words, that's what I can't do. So I think on my sheet, I've got about, I don't know, there's about 23, 23 songs that were coming up for the set, for instance, last week. 6 of them, I need to know what the words are.
Looking for delight tonight. My friend Louise, she told me about it. I was looking for delight tonight in everything that I do. And the big trucks on the motorway give me comfort, warm inside. And the music on the radio give my life back the soundtrack. The soundtrack. I was looking for delight tonight. My friend Louise, she told me about it. I was looking for delight tonight, every step of the way. And my first child, she's a beauty queen, sharp as mustard on her way now. And my second child sings like an angel, Princess Fury, forward to see ya, gives my life back a soundtrack. I was looking for delight tonight. My friend Louise, she told me about it. I was looking for delight tonight, every step of the way. With her sensitive, glamorous ways, and my 2 boys looking up at me. Give my life back the soundtrack. Give my life back the soundtrack. I was looking for delight tonight. My friend Louise, she told me about it. I was looking for delight tonight in everything that I do. I was looking for delight tonight. My friend Louise, she told me about it. I was looking for delight tonight, every step of the way. I was looking for delight tonight because I called Louise. I know she's right.
Thanks, John, for those brilliant stories. I hope you enjoyed that episode, particularly with Ingo Wörner joining us to tell us a little bit more about Big Beat Poetry. The next episode features the track Zydeco from the 2005 album Real Life is Good Enough, and the track Brothers from the 2007 album It Has to Be. See you then.
Thank you for listening to the Fischer-Z 50th anniversary audio series. I hope you enjoyed it. look out for the next episode. Come on.